Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order as America. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, we have revoked, we vetoed the Civil Rights Act, and we got tensions going on in South America, South Africa, different places, both the world's south in it. Anyways, an overdue ratification. It's been a busy few days at the Capitol. Harper had seen a number of major legislative events in his tenure as Senate staffer, but he had to admit he would have expected a ratification of a new amendment to have garnered some more celebrity attention, maybe even a few media segments. Well, it wasn't especially exciting with amendments in fact, it was likely why it hadn't got much attention or focus in the press and legislative alike. 23rd Amendment, concerning the line of presidential succession in the event of an untimely death or removal, had originally spurred by Kefir's health issues. It had also, ironically, died out when Kefir had left office. The ratification today was more of a end of a long process than a concentrated effort to clarify a rather important detail. Most people assumed the line of successor was clear, from president to vice president to secretary of state and so on. In reality, none of it actually was enshrined into the Constitution or in law. Without the threat of a potential constitutional crisis, Harper wasn't really surprised it had taken so long to get this done, and was almost certainly going to be a few years before enough states officially ratified it. Nixon and Kennedy weren't exactly in danger of unexpectedly leaving office, untimely or otherwise. Personally, Harper hoped that it would be ratified sooner rather than later, if had no other reason than to cross an item off the list. At the same time, he couldn't really muster up much urgency outside of a mild preference. When it happened, it would happen. No point in worrying about a distant worst-case scenario. There are plenty of other problems to deal with right now. Nothing bad will ever happen to the Kennedys. And we have failed at another operation in Southeast Asia. Fantastic. Good work, boys. You're all doing just splendid. We have Operation Divider still. Might as well take it. 58. Do it again. We'll keep on going. Solid NPP campaign. We'd love to see it. Oh, some infantry divisions. Okay, we'll assign you to purple, or pink, I guess. Just for the time being. And where do we want to go? I think we want to do another... We already ran a campaign recently? Okay, fine. Let's go back to... So let's see. We have 3 states here. You know what? Let's go to good old New England. Let's do a little campaigning. Is there any... I guess the polls actually haven't updated quite yet. I don't know how often the polls update, but hasn't happened quite yet. Respectable campaign in the Great Lakes. Nazi terror attacks in Uruguay. I don't know if we really care too much about that. But maybe I am wrong. I mean, I don't think we have any events about it at this exact moment in time. Other than maybe the vague South American CIA stuff we can do, but... Che Guevara has been released. Mostly in the UFN right now. British Honduras. West Indies Federation. Who's this? We got the Canada. We got Guyana. Suriname's down here as well. And then yeah, Australia and New Zealand. So I mean the OFN is not that incredible. It's really just America. And maybe the Canadians to a very small degree. Poll's been updated. Excellent. Blackmail in the White House. A rigid manila envelope on the White House staffer's desk had nothing that had struck them as unusual, save the absence of a return address. He tore open the end and peeked inside, finding nothing more than a small bundle of papers and photographs. But when he saw what they were, his blood ran cold. Internal members from the 1960 Progressive National Convention, transcripts of private conversation between NPP senators, schematics on wiretaps, photos taken inside NPP campaign headquarters, and most chillingly, a letter from the Chief of Staff H.R. Haldeman authorizing the espionage. At the bottom of the envelope was a note card with the message typed onto it. Unless you want us on the front page for the post office next week, contact me and we'll talk. With the address for a P.O. box printed on the other side. The staffer had enough wits about him to immediately reseal the envelope, call the FBI, and pass it on to them. In under an hour, it was on J. Edgar Hoover's desk. A brief call to Nixon informed him that the staffer agreed to stay quiet. The Bureau's top men were already set on tracking the blackmailer down, and it would all be over in a matter of days. Nothing bad could possibly happen. Okay. Decisions. This is all, again, just for the coalition stuff. Is there anything I want to do? Again, the thing is, I kind of want to make more liberal in economic policy. I kind of want the Labor Democrats to hate the RDC. The moderate Republicans, I don't think are really going to do too much for us. I don't think they're going to defect to the NPP to join the Progressive Caucus. It just seems a little unlikely. But the liberal Democrat, the Labor Democrats, I think we can definitely get them to defect in one way or the other. Okay. What units are we training? It's just really just these basic infantry, huh? Operation's been a success, making the decision easier. The million people were not enthusiastic to waste their time listening to campaigns and fill out ballots. They barely understood what all squabbling was in aid of, and wanted it to stop once and for all. Ismail Ben Hussein, mayor of the city of Joltin in Panyang, knew of this all too well. It was a reason why Panyang, as in every other major region of Malaya, the electorate had been shrunk down to not more than 100 people. The decision of who would lead the first post-war government were the representatives of each city, town, district, rather than bothering with a full-on election. This is also the reason why another obnoxious campaign letter from another candidate was sitting on Ishmael's desk. This time it seemed to be from the one moderate character, Razak Hashan bin Tarak Dewata Abul, or whatever his name was. As usual, this was the same old political boilerplate: vote for moderation and compromise, vote for the same hand at the teller, vote for a good future for Bepirta, influence your like-minded allies, blah blah blah. What nonsense! Everyone knew how boilerplate went by now. Ishmael was to throw the letter away when he noticed how unusually heavy it was. Then he saw a fairly thick envelope attached to the bottom of it. In the envelope, Mashu Muhammad Zagli was a large quantity of cash marked donation, American cash. With the yen being removed from the Malayan economy rather faster than one could say, young Amit Baramat, large amount of solid, reliable US dollars were certainly a big incentive for anybody in their right mind to support. What was his name again? Oh yeah, Turnabal Razak bin Dewata Hussein. The next day, Mayor Ismail bin Hussein of Jotong publicly declared his endorsement for Tun Abel Razak, and even started referring to himself as public as a Tun man. Okay, excellent. Now, again, we don't know when their election is going to be. I mean, you can keep doing it. But my guess is, like, if we fail, then then it becomes public knowledge. But at the same time, Malaya, I did win your independence. Let's fuck it. You know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. We're more likely to succeed every single time. Now, it is a 2/3 chance of success, roughly. It's a 60-40, basically. So we can basically we've rounded up to a 2/3 chance. And we've done it 2 times already, which means statistically the next one's going to fail. But I'm a lucky man, so I'm sure it'll all go great. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing. We're more than okay. Okay, committing to South Africa. What about American allies? I mean, I would love to support the British as well. Give some more support for Free Britain. Is there anything else we have here? Command South Africa grow. I mean, I do want to get South Africa on side. A note from Russia. Presidential briefing on the Free State of Magadan. Contents. The nation of Russia has been a great unknown since the end of the Second World War. Following Barbarossa and the Soviet Union's collapse, the CIA would scarcely glean any information from the vast country. Except for the West Russian War in the 50s, the Russia of our imaginations have become a cesspool of violent infighting, with the German bombings preventing any attempts at regional warlords to consolidate power. At least, this seems to be the case in West Russia and Siberia. With the land area that stretched from the Baltic to the Pacific, there's some stretch of territory untouched by the banditry and chaos that plagues the areas adjacent to the German Reich. From Central Siberia, the primary recipient of Bukharin-era Serbian plan, we have heard that a republic has risen and collapsed there between the Second World War and the West Russian War. Then there is the Russian Far East, the region the CIA has been observing for quite some time. In brief, the legitimate government of the Soviet Union, under the provisional government leadership of Gerken Yoda, retreated there after their defeat. Subsequently, the anti-Bolshevik front sprang out from Manchuria and Harbin, making a significant gains for shattering into 3 parts based in Chita, Magadan, and Amur. In particular interest for the briefing is the Free State of Magadan, led by Mikhail Matovsky, the local fascist of some repute. He and his foreign ministers, Nikolai Peletin, have promised reforms and democracy should the United States support their bid for the, as Matovsky insisted, the Great Crusade for Russia, at the intelligence and information. Jamesley notes that the decision for the president alone to make, however, it costed the president in supporting any fascist bid for Russia. Moreover, the aforementioned minister, Petlin, seems to be a more malleable candidate for leadership. Where the president decides, the agency shall carry out. Well, Operation Porcelain, build a port in Magadan. So improve our ability to supply Magadan and allow us to conduct operations there. Yes, absolutely. $15 million sounds great. And Magadan is this bad boy here. Currently led by Matovsky. Currently is fascist. But I mean, if they were like just despotic or paternalist, could have some good things there. By the way, perfect luck for me. Amin Bosman was disappointed. He was disappointed that the Malay had refused to put his trust in him after the departure of Chen Peng, and that the people had become disillusioned with him and Chin-style leadership. It also cut him to a quick that only the most loyal, ideological, stubborn members of the old guard of the UMAJF had remained with them, while all the moderate and conservative Kamalightlies had gone over to Abdullah Razak Hussein. And he said that to Razak, whose response was simply and surprisingly sympathetic. I can understand that, Ahmed. Had I been in your shoes, I'm fairly sure I would have the same attitude. Is there anything that you want me to keep in mind? Ahmed nodded. I do. Now let me be very clear here, Razak. I don't hate you. I'm not particularly angry. I know that you and I share an all-important goal, despite our differences. You, I, and Malayans, and we all want the pain to go away. We want the Japanese legacy scrubbed out. We want the trauma and pain to follow them into the sunset. In that, you've got my good wishes and whatever support I can give you without selling out my own beliefs and objectives. Razak indicated his agreement with Ahmed continued. But there's one thing I'm deeply concerned about, Razak. I've heard strange rumors that the Americans are intervening on your behalf in the election. Allah alone knows the reason. I don't hold this against you. Far from it. You and I both know how hard it is to understand the logic for those Yankees. But I have to ask you one thing of you. Please, Razak, don't trade one puppet master for another. Keep Malaysia free. Don't let the Americans do to us what the Japanese scum did. Razak noted. I'll keep that in mind, Ahmed. Thank you for everything. So this is our third success. But am I a gambling man? Actually, I think we've actually got 3 for 3. We might actually be able to do another one. What do you want me to do? Uninspiring NPP campaign. No! God damn it. Okay, where do we want to campaign then? Where? Okay, prediction is still plus 14. How many seats are even up? It's half, right? So there's 25 seats. I think what we want to do also is just kind of campaign in places where we don't have a single senator. Let's campaign in the Rockies. Idaho, Nevada, Utah, good old Colorado. Lost production units. Don't care about that even remotely right now. Is there anything else we want to do? We have operations here. Make contact with Urgan Jewish paramilitaries. They might be bastards, but there are bastards. Okay, let's meet up with those guys. See what they have to say. Because, yeah, Turkey is now currently at war with the government of the Levant. Basically a proxy war between Turkey and Italy going on at the moment. In search of a champion. Henry Jackson, known affectionately for his to his contemporaries as Scoop, sat at his desk, looking expectantly at 2 large figures sitting opposite. Maureen Nurberger, Scoop's deputy and fellow senator in the MPP's progressive wing, quietly thumbed through her notes as she waited for him to speak. Next were sat the nominal head of the Progressive's more radical wing, Michael Harrington, who waited with the same expectant look as Scoop himself. The two could not be more different, but as Progressive leaders, Scoop knew he needed both in the pact if he was going to go anywhere. As you know, our election prospects are looking dire, began Scoop. The right still holds plenty of influence over the pact, and no Progressive voter is going to vote for a pact if some lunatic like Wallace gets on the ticket. Worst of all, we don't even have a candidate. Well, I would help if anyone had bothered to put their name forward, joked Harrington, with a bare hint of contempt. Perhaps if we were to do more to support our core working class voters in the Midwest and elsewhere, rather than kowtowing to segregationists and filling our ranks with West Coast elitist types. Nuremberg, herself a proud Oregon stock, sat up with an offhanded look. Everyone's here is fighting for the same thing. I've done plenty to speak up for our underprivileged. At least I don't sit around writing essays about it. Scoop sat still for a moment, smiling bemusedly as his colleagues continued to bicker and snipe at one another. In a way, they were a perfect reflection of progressives as a whole, determined to enact change, but endlessly in their own throats, or at their own throats, about what that change should be. Finally, he coughed, and the other two immediately ceased their childish exchange and looked at him once more. You two are very different, which is exactly why you need somebody who can speak everybody's language. If we're too happy, or if we're to have any hope in this election, we need to move forward with one voice. Harrington and Nuremberg looked at each other, unsure of what to say. Scoop glanced out the window with an uncertain look. I don't know who the man is to lead us, but he better show up soon, or we are screwed. Who will speak for the progressives? Well, again, I don't actually know who exactly is going to be the leader here. Who's going to be the presidential nominee? Again, we are going to try to support the NPP progressives if we can. Again, unfortunately, like I don't have any options here to actually try to make them happy with each other. 1960 Navy targeting. Again, it doesn't really matter what we go for here. We've gotten all of the industry techs for the 1960s. We gotta wait till 65 for anything else new there. 60. What are you? We can go automatic weapons too. That's fine. And then enemy air support minus 8%. Boom, done. We've solved that one, boys. We got it going. The FBI pounces. A task of apprehending the unknown White House blackmailer was difficult. Was hardly difficult. The PO box had been registered under a false name and paid for in cash. So the FBI decided to play along and write a letter agreeing to the blackmailer's demands and asking to meet him in person. Surprisingly, the blackmailer showed up expecting nothing. It was immediately nabbed by federal agents. The blackmailer turned out to be a 24-year-old NPP activist, one Charles B. Juneau, but they had a little success getting more than that out of him. He refused to say anything besides a request for a lawyer, but fingerprint evidence had left no doubt to him being the one who sent the envelope. The Bureau's best guess was that he's a misguided progressive who wanted to force through change with some underhanded methods, but that's all they really have to go on. Charges of espionage and mail fraud are already working their way through the pipeline, and he'll hopefully go to trial by November. With any luck, and a bit of nudging from the White House, it will be moved up to October or late September, meaning that he'll be safely behind bars when the midterms elections rolls out. Well, see how that goes. Because my guess is, like, that's not going to be the end of it. Like, at some point, like, these are going to leak. If I was him, I would have just sent it straight to the newspapers. But, you know, what do I know? I've never committed any kind of espionage. Operation successful. We love to see it. That was the operation... whatever operation that was. I think that was the one for the bastards. Anything else we care about? Let's strengthen pro-American sentiment. Sure, why not? It's just something to do. Look at that, we're 96%. Hell yeah. I guess we can have more agents. Hey, another agent. Speak of the devil. Okay, let's recruit another one. Sounds good. Budget is still looking very healthy as far as I'm concerned. And military police, 1950, 102 days. 1960, support companies. Get those bad boys operational as well. Down Embassy Row. For Jackson, walking around Washington, D.C. never gets old. Although he had already lived here for a year, the novelty had not yet worn off. It was a city where everything was happening, all at once. His favorite place to walk was the Embassy Row, a street adorned with flags from around the world and buildings to match. Embassy Row was the beating heart of America's chicanery and diplomatic body. The buildings were always pretty, or at least interesting, and it was right next to a fantastic burger joint. The first thing he always noticed was the noise. It was hard not to. It was deafening. On a quiet day, it would be more of a dull roar, but still ever present. Countless protesters standing outside the Reich and Japan's embassies, chanting their sayings and waving their flags. The signs could be anything on them. Pro-OFN or Boycott the Reich were the most common. Of course, sometimes you'd see LBJ all the way, States' Rights, Vote Wallace, or even Nixon now, protester or sign. Here was a place where a Wallace supporter could stand right next to the supporter of Scoop Jackson and agree with everything, united against the tyranny of the rising sun and the soaring eagle. At least, in theory. Jackson spent a lot of time in front of the Reich's embassy. He had protested there a lot. He was doing what he thought was best for the country as he stared down the sovereign's counter-protester bastards. And he hadn't blinked, he hadn't backed down. That's why he was here today. Wait, no, that wasn't why he was here today, however. He had seen the Reich's embassy, he had seen Japan's, he had even seen the old but recently refurbished British embassy, and he'd even gone inside the small Vichy France embassy. There's one embassy that I constantly need to look for, one that constantly invaded him. Where is the Russian embassy? Now again, I don't think there is an official Russian government. Are you the official the remnants of the Soviet government? I believe so. I think this is the guy that was name dropped. The polls have up to A. Okay, how are we looking? How are we looking? Plus 10. God, that's less. That's a smaller number. I want my numbers to be big. I want them to be, like, powerful. I don't want 10. What's 10 get me? Nothing. 14. Now, that's a beautiful number. It gets up to a nice round 40. A 40-60 split. I mean, that's still, like, pretty, still very much pro RDC. Also, I don't think it's bad. Okay, let's strengthen American business interests. At least try that one out. Okay, so this is going to be a Western Cape, naval bases, air bases. Should we ever need to, our first material commitment in South Africa will be easier to convene. However, it will also make it difficult to pull out if the future events require it. Yes. Protect our interest. Now, I don't know exactly what the crisis is going to be. I'm assuming it's probably going to be Kennedy being assassinated. That'd be my guess. An internal investigation. Despite the jubilation about catching the blackmailer, the mood in the White House and Department of Justice building quickly turned sour when an unpleasant piece of information came forward. Charles Juneau wasn't acting alone. There was no way that an envelope could have been screened and inserted by with the other incoming mail unless a co-conspirator on the inside had helped to get through. Secret Service immediately began investigating potential leads in the mailroom, but to little success so far. The White House staff are all whispering about something that's going on. Most of them suspect that it's an information breach that involves the NPP in some way. Even worse are the rumors about the other gray scares on the horizon, but directed at any and all NPP members. Although this is currently limited to the White House, and there are certainly very few professional NPP members in the Nixon administration, it would lead to a widespread panic if the news leaked to the rest of the executive branch's bureaucracy, let alone to the press. I do like how instead of having the red scare, they do have the gray scare. RDC campaign in the Upper South crashes and burns. And we're also uninspired. So let's do one quick... Okay. 2 seats. 5. Okay, you know what? Let's campaign here. And I would say with that, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, the thumbs up. Not enjoy, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.